Lizzie, the Plum Blossom Guild Master, says that they must recruit the F-rank awakened individual immediately. She asks Manhwa why he came to her after hearing about the awakened individual. He tells her that he thought he should report it to her first. Annoyed by his response, Lizzie begins to yell at him, saying that he should have gone to the site and recruited the rookie already. Lizzie sees that the deputy guild master is confused, so she begins to spell it out for him. She explains how they both agreed that it is the first time they learned of an awakened with such abilities. She tells him that the awakened individual is an irregular whose skills are extremely rare. She then asks him a rhetorical question: does it not sound like someone that they must recruit to their guild? Manhwa apologizes and tells her he will leave right away. Lizzie shouts at him because he is still wasting time talking to her, and she kicks him out the door. Meanwhile, somewhere in the city, Sun Yul-min, the White Lotus Deputy Guild Master, is driving while listening to the news as they begin to talk about their coverage of the recent outbreak that occurred at New Humanity Street. An F-rank awakened rookie, named Do-hyuk Park, is making headlines after he single-handedly took out a pack of gnomes. Sun Yul receives a call from In Hong Kong, the guild master. In Hong Kong asks Sun Yul how she is enjoying her drive while he is left to do all the paperwork at the office. She remarks that he has always put her in charge of recruiting. She then asks him how much she should offer as a down payment. He replies, 3 billion won. She asks him if he really thinks that is enough to sway such a unique awakened individual to join their guild. She tells him that they need to come higher. The guild master listens and tells her 10 billion won, however, the rookie would need to pass the guild's internal test. Sun Yul questions if that is really necessary but agrees. She says that she'll use her charm to make sure they recruit him. The guild master tells her to not flirt with other guys, and to just get the job done, and he then hangs up. A crowd of people are gathered outside of Do-hyuk's apartment. These people are from various guilds who came with a strong interest in recruiting Do-hyuk. However, they are all upset at the note that is taped on his front door. They say that either Do-hyuk has some guts, or he is being a jackass. They ask what the hell is wrong with him and wonder if Do-hyuk really thinks he is that talented. A car pulls up and parks in front of the apartment. The recruiters become disgruntled when they see the deputy guild master of the country's #1 guild stepping out of the car. Sun Yul-min begins walking toward Do-hyuk's apartment as people around her begin thinking that they should just give up and head back. They wonder if Do-hyuk has already agreed to sign with the White Lotus Guild. Sun Yul-min recognizes a person in the crowd and tells him that she is surprised to see him there, when he is struggling to keep his guild afloat. She continues to say that only a guild with deep pockets like the White Lotus can recruit an irregular. However, she stops tooting her own horn when she arrives in front of Do-hyuk's apartment and sees the note on the door. 100 billion won, period. I politely decline discussing any offers below this sum, so please go back. Sun Yul-min, taken aback, turns around and asks a man named Hun what he thinks about the amount. The man tells her to not call him by his name and lets her know that she disgusts him. This man is Hun Kim, and he is the deputy guild master of the Black Spirit Guild, who Sun Yul-min insulted just a few moments ago. Responding to her question, Hun Kim asks what guild would invest 100 billion won in an F-rank awakened, over some puny spells. Sun Yul-min argues that they are not puny spells, and that Do-hyuk is an irregular. She asks him if he has ever seen an awakened individual use spells. Hun Kim answers no, and says it is still an outrageous amount of money and that this person will never get a contract with a demand like that. She tells him that perhaps he just wants to find a guild that fully recognizes his value. Sun Yul-min calls out to Do-hyuk and tells him that she will be returning with a better offer soon, and then leaves. As the car drives away, Do-hyuk notices it starting to become quiet and wonders if everyone has finally left. Do-hyuk feels strange that he is being recruited by so many people. He tells himself that he does not need to join a guild to earn money. Also, he does not want to feel tied down by a guild, as joining a guild would mean saying goodbye to his freedom. Do Hyuk believes what he needs the most is to increase his strength and gain experience. He thinks he will be able to achieve this thanks to the information he has been gathering. He begins to look forward to getting started. 5 days later, somewhere in the country, Do Hyuk arrives at a restricted location that is regulated by the KMAA. He stands in front of the entrance and is happy to have finally arrived. He traveled the country for 5 days searching for artifacts. He acquired a handful of normal and magic-grade artifacts that boosts magic, wisdom, and charm. Among the magic artifacts, Do Hyuk found a pair of binoculars that allows the user to identify a person in a group of 5 people with malicious intent. It also allows the user to see through hallucinations. The magic grade belt increases both agility and muscular strength by 30 points. In addition, the stats boosts will increase by 3 every time the wearer loses 2.2 pounds of weight. However, the opposite effect can occur if the wearer gains weight. In addition to acquiring the artifacts, Do Hyuk is proud that he is wearing the latest defense armor and that he now owns an armored vehicle. Reviewing his stats, he thinks about how far he has come to prepare for this day. An agent at the site informs him that his identity has been verified and that he may now enter. A bright light begins to shine on his face while Do Hyuk eagerly awaits as he watches the gate in front of him open. Dungeons and fields. In the last 21 years, many dungeons have emerged across the country. Most dungeons were managed by guilds and the KMAA. Special procedures for gaining access to a dungeon were established, and it was especially difficult for unaffiliated F-rank awakened individuals to be permitted. Unlike dungeons, fields were more accessible to the general awakened population. A field is a designated area in which an ecosystem of monsters exists, formed as a result of dungeon monsters escaping into this world. To contain the monster population, massive walls were built around these areas, where monsters continue to breed and inhabit the world. Fields provide awakened individuals an opportunity to gain experience and acquire items from hunting monsters. It is also an opportunity for some people who need to earn extra money. There's a group of goblins that came across a pile of meat on the ground. Do Hyuk is perched in the branches of a tree nearby. He watches the goblins eat the meal that he had prepared. He begins to activate Magic Missile and unleashes an attack on the goblins. Looking down at the goblin bodies, Do Hyuk thinks he has never seen anything this gory. He is a little surprised at how well his stomach is handling it, and he wonders if this is because he isn't awakened now. He opens the container that he has been carrying and dumps the rest of the bait all over the ground. Goblins and wolf monsters begin to appear, and Do Hyuk soon finds himself surrounded by many monsters. He grins, thinking it is time to collect them all now. At the monster carcass shop, a butcher is counting a pile of monster carcasses on the counter. It's been a while since he saw monster carcasses in such good condition, and he thanks Do Hyuk for selling good quality carcasses to them. Do Hyuk asks him how much he can get for them. The butcher tells him it will be about 300 million won, about $252,000. Other awakened individuals inside the shop begin to talk about the sale because they have never seen anyone be paid so much in one sale. The butcher tells Do Hyuk that the money will be transferred to his account soon and that there is a package for him. He apologizes to him because they had to open the package for safety inspection. The contents in the package was a book. Do Hyuk thanks him for holding on to the package. The butcher tells him that it is no problem at all and that they are just grateful that such a talented awakened decided to do business with them. Do Hyuk tries to be modest and tells him that he was just lucky. He actually wanted to wrap this up quickly and quietly because he did not want to draw any attention to himself. However, a young man has been watching their interaction. He points him out to his brothers, Red and Blue, and tells them about how Do Hyuk just cashed in 300 million won's worth of monster carcasses. Yellow begins ranting about how they struggle for days just to make 3 million won, about $2,500, and after travel costs, all they can afford to eat are cup noodles. He also mentions how the shop employee has not been very polite to them. The brothers begin to glare at Do Hyuk and despise him. They say that Do Hyuk is a rascal who thinks he now owns the world, just because he can wield some magic. And there is no way he is not trying to brag and show off, he is just pretending to be modest. The brothers begin having thoughts about wanting to kill Do Hyuk, until Blue says, "Let's kill that rascal." Red and Yellow are taken aback because it sounded like Blue actually meant it. Blue begins scheming how to get rid of him. He says if Do Hyuk earned that much money today, then he will definitely come back to the field soon. He also points out that they have been coming to this place for 2 years, and today is the first time they have seen him, which means he's a newbie. They can attack him from behind when he is loading carcasses into his truck, and finish him off. When they pass through the security checkpoint, they will just say that Do Hyuk was part of the group. Since everyone who enters the field signs a liability waiver, they will be able to leave without any issues. The brothers become convinced that this plan will work. In addition to killing Do Hyuk, they plan to take his money and his armored vehicle and his dimension stones. The next day, Do Hyuk is back in the field. He complains as he loads a goblin carcass into his truck, because it is a lot more work cleaning up than killing monsters. Meanwhile, the brothers are hiding in the bushes and getting ready to launch their sneak attack on Do Hyuk. The oldest brother, Yellow, tells Blue to back him up while he makes his move. Do Hyuk hears rustling in the bushes behind him. When he turns around, he sees he is about to be attacked by someone. His attacker lands a blow to his head. Fortunately, he had activated armor to protect himself just in time. Yellow tells Do Hyuk that this is what happens when he shows off. His brothers cheer him on as he prepares to deliver the final blow. He raises his weapon above his head with both hands and swings down using all his strength. However, his attack has been blocked midway. Do Hyuk grabs onto the weapon as he tries to regain his composure after feeling the full force of the impact on his head. He asks his attacker if that is all he's got for him and grabs onto his face. Thinking that responding to a murderous intent with the same intent is considered self-defense, Do Hyuk unleashes burning hands on contact and kills Yellow instantly. Red and Blue realize that going after Do Hyuk was a mistake, as they watch their plan goes up in flames, literally. Do Hyuk looks down at Yellow's body as the ground continues to burn. Suddenly, he senses another attack coming. He quickly reinforces his body with armor and successfully repels the ninja stars thrown at him. He looks around and sees Red and Blue. Blue shivers after seeing how his weapons just bounced off Do Hyuk. Red criticizes Blue about his aim, but Blue swears that his aim was accurate. He tells Red that they need to run, because Do Hyuk is not an ordinary newbie. He takes off while Red stands there confused. Do Hyuk doesn't understand why these guys believe they can take him on, because they are not powerful and not coordinated at all. He activates Magic Missile and takes Blue down before he could get away. Red is startled, as he watches Blue drop to the ground. He becomes frustrated, thinking that he and his brothers can't just be massacred like this. He grabs his sword and shield and steps out to confront Do Hyuk. He begins charging towards him. Red is thinking, even though Do Hyuk is more powerful than an average newbie, he will not be able to use such advanced magic multiple times in a row. Red plans to first use his shield when Do Hyuk attacks, and then he will strike him. Do Hyuk begins to activate Color Spray. He unleashes a bright flashing light of colors from his hand. Red wonders if Do Hyuk is trying to blind him. Color Spray is a spell that blocks one's vision, and it also has a conditional effect that can physically incapacitate the person. Because of Do Hyuk's high wisdom stats, this spell will cause the person's entire body, inside and out, to vibrate very rapidly. Blood begins to leak out of Red's eyes. He coughs up blood, and then falls on the ground. He is confused. He doesn't understand how he is physically injured, because he did not feel a thing from that attack. Do Hyuk steps toward him, as Red finally realizes something is wrong. He raises his head, and looks Do Hyuk in the eyes, with one last thought. This guy is not a freaking novice. Do Hyuk raises his sword, and tells Red that this is his price for going after his life, right before he slashes him. Red's body lies on the ground, as Do Hyuk remembers that there is one more person who tried to kill him. Blue is still alive but is severely injured and can barely run. However, it is too late for him to escape. Blue begs for mercy and tells Do Hyuk that he will never see him again. Do Hyuk tells him that he is not a saint and he will not spare the life of someone who tried to kill him. He activates magic missile as Blue tries to run away. The projectiles all land a hit, killing Blue almost instantly. Several trees in Blue's path were also hit by the spell and they all fall at the same time as Blue's body falls onto the ground. Meanwhile, KMAA agents at the field are rushing towards the scene, and they are stunned by what they find when they arrive. They see Do Hyuk carrying a sword and dead bodies lying around him, and they ask Do Hyuk for an explanation. Do Hyuk replies, "Yes, of course," and begins showing them video footage of his encounter with the three brothers. The lead agent informs Do Hyuk that based on the video footage, they will apply the law and treat this conflict as self-defense, and he requests him to cooperate with the investigation for now. Do Hyuk complies and says he understands. He is not happy about ending up in this situation, and he begins to resent the brothers for causing him all kinds of trouble and ruining his day. Moments later, Do Hyuk feels the presence of strong magic that unsettles him. He asks the agents if they can feel the magic that is looming at the edge of the woods, but they do not know what he's talking about. The lead agent tells him that his senses are just in overdrive because of the battle earlier, and he says he will go check it out. Do Hyuk suddenly panics and shouts for him to get away from there. The agent says that there is nothing, and the next thing he knows, a large wolf monster has appeared right in front of him. Do Hyuk recognizes this wolf monster, and he remembers how he used to hunt it for fun in DNF. This is the field's wolf leader. The wolf leader immediately charges towards the lead agent, who does not have any time to react. Do Hyuk activates shield quickly and is able to protect him from the wolf leader's attack. He shouts for the lead agent to hurry and get away, because he is about to unleash burning hands. The agent scampers away in time to avoid being caught in the fiery blast behind him. The wolf leader reacts quickly to the incoming blast and jumps off the shield to dodge the attack. Do Hyuk notices that the wolf leader is very fast. He also noticed that the wolf leader's cry was able to summon the rest of its pack. Do Hyuk and the agents are now surrounded by wolves. Do Hyuk realizes the situation is getting tricky and he tells everyone to get in his truck and get out of there. His truck is fortified enough for them to be able to leave safely. The lead agent questions Do Hyuk. They can't just leave him to fight all the monsters by himself, and he tells him that they can help. Do Hyuk yells at him, asks if he is serious because he almost died trying to help just a few minutes ago. He tells him that they don't even have any weapons on them and if he wants to help, then they should get out of the way. Another agent agrees with Do Hyuk and convinces the lead agent that it is better for them to get out of the way and request for backup. The wolf leader roars loudly and orders the pack to attack. The wolves advance towards the field agents. The lead agent prepares to fight and raises his fists, and he tells his men he will buy them some time to get inside the truck. A wolf attempts to bite the lead agent and misses, and the lead agent jabs the wolf in the jaw and sends it back. He says he can handle this much without any weapons and thinks he can manage. However, the rest of the wolf pack immediately jumps in and pushes him to the ground. The lead agent soon finds himself lying on his back. He is just about to be mauled to death, when the wolves are all attacked by Do Hyuk's magic missile. An agent tells him that they are ready to leave. The lead agent is startled and quickly hops into the truck. As they drive away, they tell Do Hyuk that they will come back with an army of awakened. Do Hyuk is relieved that they are gone because he can now focus on the enemy. Just when he turns his attention to the wolf leader, it has already begun to attack and is about to slash him with its claws but misses him. Do Hyuk noticed how it had just attacked him. It jumped and slammed down with its claws. He thinks the next move is going to be a tail whip. When the wolf leader whips its tail around, Do Hyuk realizes that the attack pattern is the same as in DNF. Once he dodges the tail whip, he expects the other wolves will attack, and they do. Do Hyuk jumps high in the air and dodges the group attack. He looks down and watches the wolf leader in anticipation of its next move. It unleashes a surge of lightning into the sky, and Do Hyuk looks above. As soon as the lightning strikes the ground, the wolves rush in and find nothing at the strike point. They are slaughtered when they are suddenly hit by magic missile. The wolf leader becomes angry and attempts to generate lightning, however, it is unable to recharge because it is still in a cooldown period from the last attack. Do Hyuk uses this opportunity to deliver the finishing blow. He unleashes Burning Hands and combines it with Magic Missile. The combination of the spells creates a fiery meteor shower that the wolf leader is unable to avoid, and it ends with a huge explosion in the field. The KMA officials soon arrived to confirm the death of the wolf leader. Do Hyuk was interrogated concerning the death of the trio of attackers. Thanks to the footage from the dash cam in his truck, he was able to back his claim of self-defense and settle the matter. Do Hyuk is thinking about his encounter with the trio of attackers. He believes incidents like this will likely continue to happen, and thinks he needs to be better prepared going forward. He thinks he needs a reliable partner because the shield and armor alone will not be enough to protect himself. At his current level, he thinks a mini drone will suffice. Somewhere in the field, Do Hyuk, who is now a mechanic level 5, is sitting on top of his truck and is preparing to create something. Even though he can do this at home, he figures he will work on it here in the field so he can test his creation right away. He lays out the parts that he ordered from Deus.net and is eager to start. He says it is as exciting as the first time he used the replication spell. He activates the mechanic spell and places a steel-coated block with a dimension stone inside the production orb, commenting that it will make a nice drone. He watches the mini drone production at work and is excited to see the mechanic skills from DNF come to life. About midway of the progress, he remembers he needs to add the Alvin Wands, a magic rank artifact that increases magic by 20 and can use magic missiles. He inserts them into the orb and then shortly after, the mini drone production is complete. Do Hyuk looks at the new mini drones in awe, as goblins gather nearby. He sees the goblins and thinks it is the perfect time for him to test his mini drones, and he orders them to go. Even though the mini drones look like a fancy toy, it is very fast, thanks to his mechanic spell. They are highly effective against monsters that do not have the ability to fly. The mini drones lock onto the targets and activate magic missile, and they fire at all the goblins. Do Hyuk is amazed at how the mini drones completely obliterated the goblins. He thinks the power of the mini drones is sufficient enough to serve as backup. He wants to start focusing on raising his mechanic level to at least 11, which is the production level for creating golems. Then, he can check that off the list of things he needs to create it later. Meanwhile, there is a video that is going viral online. The title of the video is, "Awakened Do Hyuk Park Teaches 3 Guys a Lesson and Hunts Down a Field Leader." Someone recognizes him and asks if he is the guy who took care of the outbreak on Awakened Street. Others comment about his spells, that it doesn't make sense how they are so strong. Apparently, there were hidden cameras in the field that captured the events that day, and someone had obtained the hidden camera footage. A girl is excited to see how many views and subscribers she has gained, and thinks that it was a good idea to upload the hidden camera footage. She thinks she can grow her subscriber base with the videos and Do Hyuk Park can gain more fame. She says it is a win-win situation for them both. At the Plum Blossom Guild office, the deputy guild master, Chunha Jang, tells Lizzie, the guild master, to take a look at a video online. Lizzie begins watching the video, and asks why and what it is about. She then realizes the person in the video is Do Hyuk and asks Chunha Jang about him. He tells her she is right, that it is Do Hyuk Park, and tells her that he thought it was just a normal hunting video at first. However, it was a video of Do Hyuk and his skills in action. Lizzie becomes serious and stands up and says the deputy guild master's name. She tells him that she should take charge of recruiting this time. Chunha Jang is confused and asks if she meant what she just said. Lizzie asks him if he learned anything from the video. He answers her with a guess, that Do Hyuk is an exceptionally strong F rank. Lizzie begins shouting at him, pointing out the fact that F rank took down a 3-member team and a field leader. Chunha Jang asks her if she doesn't think 100 billion won is too much to offer to an F rank rookie. 100 billion won was the amount Do Hyuk stipulated back when he was first discovered and recruited by several guilds. Lizzie asks Chunha Jang if he had ever gone around massacring monsters when he was an F rank, and he answers her no, saying that it was out of his power. She then tells him that it was the same for her, and that she had never heard of anyone who could until now. She says if Do Hyuk Park can do this as an F rank, then imagine what he could do as he levels up. He will be multiple times stronger than he is in that video, and 100 billion won will not even mean anything by then. She grabs him by his tie and tells him they don't have time to just sit around, and they need to move now. Other guilds have seen the video and are hustling and doing the same thing. They all want to quickly recruit Do Hyuk, thinking that they now have a shot at becoming a top-tier guild. Do Hyuk is leaving the monster carcass shop looking at his phone. He sees 700 million won, about 585,000 US dollars, has been transferred to his bank account, and he thinks it doesn't seem like a big amount of money anymore. His phone rings and he sees it as Chunha Jang. He remembers he is the Plum Blossom Deputy Guild Master who tried to recruit him a while back. Do Hyuk has his number because Chunha left his business card on his door. Do Hyuk answers and the person on the line introduces herself as Lizzie, the Plum Blossom Guild Master. Do Hyuk is confused because he was expecting to hear a man's voice. Lizzie tells Do Hyuk that Chunha is driving now, and she wants to know where he is now because she would like to speak to him in person. Do Hyuk tells her he is inside the field and he is busy, and tells her if it's not urgent, he'll have to hang up. Lizzie asks Do Hyuk to wait and says she will get to the point right away since he is busy. She tells him they want him to join their guild and she mentions the 100 billion won, about 84 million US dollars, he wrote on his door last time. She tells him if his skills shown in the NeoTube video are genuine, then their Plum Blossom Guild is gladly willing to invest in him for that amount. Chunha Jang interrupts and asks her if she isn't going a bit overboard on the budget. She quickly covers her phone and yells at him to shut up and just drive. Do Hyuk pauses to respond and says her name. Lizzie asks Do Hyuk what he thinks about her offer. Instead of answering her question, Do Hyuk asks her if she just said that he was in a NeoTube video. Lizzie affirms and tells him that someone named Haley So uploaded a video of him on NeoTube, and she asks if he hasn't seen it. Do Hyuk says this is the first time he is hearing about it. He tells her he will have to hang up and get a hold of the situation first. Lizzie asks Do Hyuk to wait and says his name multiple times, not realizing he actually hung up on her. Lizzie is looking down at her phone, flustered, when Chunha tells her he's just not for them and they should give up on him. She snaps and begins strangling him, asking him if he is out of his mind, as Chunha tries to tell her that he is driving. Do Hyuk found the video in question. He watches it on his phone and does not believe the video of him taking down the trio is really online. He is angry and wants to know who the hell uploaded the video. He figures the person uploaded the video to gain subscribers. He thinks the monster hunting footage is not a big deal, however, the part that really bothers him is the footage of his encounter with the 3 brothers, because it can portray him as a murderer. He eventually cools down and thinks about his current situation, especially now that his skills have become known to the public. He decides to turn this situation to his advantage. Even though he did not have any plans to join a guild, until now, he realizes that he needs access to the top-level spell books and manuals that are found in the guild-managed dungeons. He begins to compose a text message on his phone, introducing himself as Do Hyuk Park, and sends it to all the guilds who want to recruit him. He says that he did not upload the recent video, however, based on the footage, they can see his abilities are worth more than 100 billion won now. He says he will show them the reason why, at the Daeus Market in Gangnam, today at midnight, and they should come and see for themselves if they are interested. At the Blue Star Group Tower, there is a man named Eunho Baek, who is the president of the Blue Star Group, nagging at his daughter about her appearance because he keeps telling her she needs to dress more like a lady. His daughter's name is Dewey Baek, and she is the guild master of the Blue Star Guild. She tells him to not be so old-fashioned and says she can't move freely inside a dungeon unless she wears a comfortable outfit like what she has on now. Eunho proposes a new guild uniform and shows her a picture and says it will provide more protection than the revealing clothes she is wearing now. Dewey tells him that suit has lower defense shields than her current outfit. She then tells him that they should make a move now. Her father asks if she is referring to the potential recruit. She says yes, and tells him that she was impressed by his skills in that recent video. Eunho is unsure about Do Hyuk, and mentions how the KMAA looked into him before. He is just a normal spellcaster. Dewey asks her father if he knows the reason why spellcasters are not considered powerful and cost-effective among the awakened. She says it is because they cannot use a variety of skills consecutively. However, Do Hyuk Park was different from other spellcasters in that NeoTube video. She says he is no ordinary awakened. Her father asks her if she thinks if such a big investment is worth it. She tells him she isn't sure, and she tells him with bright confidence that her intuition has never failed her. Her message was clearly received. He hasn't seen his daughter smile like that in a while. He thinks Do Hyuk is just an F-rank rookie, however, her smile makes him want to waver. He tells her alright, and asks how much she needs for the recruiting budget and suggests 10 billion won, about $8.4 million US. She immediately answers, 200 billion won, about $168 million US, and says they will need that much to recruit Do Hyuk. Eunho is stunned, but gives in and tells her that they can't waste it. Dewey jumps and hugs her father. She thanks him and tells him she loves him. It is midnight and the lights are on at the Gangnam Daeus Market. The time has come for Do Hyuk to show the guilds why his skills are worth more than 100 billion won. Yoon-so Lee of the KMAA introduces herself to the audience, and says she will be the moderator for the event. She tells the audience that they have planned a special auction for today and they will not be auctioning an artifact tonight. She then introduces Mr. Do Hyuk Park as the man who has become a public sensation, a spellcaster awakened. Do Hyuk steps out and introduces himself. He tells the audience that as they saw in the video, his skills can be performed in sequence without delay, unlike other spellcasters. A man in the audience shouts at him and asks him if he is trying to scam them because he has never seen or heard of spells cast without delay. He tells him he is dead if he is lying to them and says that the video must have been photoshopped. Do Hyuk twirls his finger and activates shield and armor on the man. The men next to him observe the shield, and are shocked at how fast the spell's activated. They don't think there was any delay at all. Do Hyuk asks the man if he just saw what happened. He says his speed is unmatched, and asks him if he is now satisfied. The man looks back at him with nothing to say. Someone else in the audience say that it may have worked instantly because the shield is such a simple spell, and another person says that he probably can't do it with an attack spell. Do Hyuk responds, he knew they would say something like that, so he came prepared. He snaps his fingers and says he will show them the other spells with his assistant Scarecrow. Someone in the audience raises their hand and it happens to be Dewey Baek, the Blue Star Guild Master. She asks if it is okay for her to help out with his demonstration. She tells him the Blue Star Guild can provide the service of a tanker who specializes in defense instead of that Scarecrow. A young woman sitting behind her stands up, as Dewey suggests she would be a better target for the demonstration. Skills and spells. In order for an awakened spellcaster to activate a spell, one must take the step to cast it. However, spells take time to cast, and one cannot move while casting a spell. This drawback creates a window of opportunity for enemies to attack. Therefore, it is crucial for spellcasters to have support from tankers. In Do Hyuk's case, a spell activates as soon as he says the incantation. His spells are just as powerful as spells that are activated from casting, if not stronger. His spell activation is his unique talent. People in the audience recognize the volunteer tanker as she walks up to the stage. Apparently, she is so talented, she can basically name any price if someone wants to hire her for a trip to a dungeon. Her name is Ma, and she is a tanker for the Blue Star Guild. She greets Do Hyuk and the two begin having a quick chat. He asks her if she is sure she'll be okay. She tells him he does not have to worry about her, and she asks him if he does not prefer to demonstrate his skills using her over the scarecrow. She lets him know that she wants to feel the power of his spells with her own body. She turns to the audience and introduces herself as Ma of the Blue Star Guild. She informs them that for this demonstration, she will only disclose her defense stats to everyone, and tells them to use her stats as a reference to judge the demonstration. Lizzie tells Chunha, Songmi will be able to get an accurate picture of Do Hyuk's skills. She says a person's defense level cannot be raised using stat points. The person can only rely on the power of artifacts or skills. Songmi's physical defense level is 101 and her magic defense is 155. If her defense level is this high in her current state, then it will increase even higher when she is in a battle. Lizzie grins as she begins to look forward to how this demonstration will play out. Do Hyuk is thinking about his battle against the three brothers and about how they were weak and sloppy. He sees this as a good opportunity for him to test his powers on a full-fledged tanker. He plans to use his powers to their fullest potential. Songmi activates her defenses and tells Do Hyuk she is ready. The event moderator informs the audience, for their safety, they will activate a defense barrier around the stage. As soon as the barrier comes up, Do Hyuk begins to activate magic missile and fires at Songmi. As her barrier holds up to the attack, she notices that each of these blows are fully powered, and that Do Hyuk was able to fire 5 at the same time. He then hits her with burning hands. The audience becomes amazed, and they are shocked to see that much power was unleashed by a spell instantly, without any casting period. Songmi's defense shield begins to crack and then shatters completely. Dewey Beck is thinking about how Songmi is a top-tier D rank awakened, and Do Hyuk still managed to break down her outer shield. Songmi tells Do Hyuk that she believes he has more to show them and lets him know that she is still good. She says it feels like they haven't even started yet and wants him to show them more. Dewey Beck thinks of how Songmi always rejects partnering up with spellcasters because they are not good enough. However, Dewey sees that Songmi is definitely enjoying this demonstration. She thinks they will have an 18 once they recruit him. Do Hyuk tells Songmi he will continue and he will show her his full power, as he begins to activate the 2 previous spells in tandem. With enthusiasm, he unleashes Burning Hands and immediately follows up with multiple activations of Magic Missile. Songmi's expression changes and she quickly becomes alert, as she sees a blazing whirlwind of fire and a barrage of missiles coming towards her. The stage becomes enveloped in a huge explosion, and the defense barrier shielding the audience begins to break down. Everyone inside the building is completely shocked. They are astonished by the magnitude of the power that was just unleashed. Songmi, looking battered, struggles to stand, as the smoke from the explosion clears. Do Hyuk, feeling a little guilty, apologizes to her and says he didn't mean to go that far. She tells him it's okay and she hasn't been honored with such an injury in a long time. He thanks her for helping him, as he leans over to give her an assist. Songmi tells him she hopes they can meet again, and they shake hands. The event moderator informs the audience that they are concluding the demonstration due to a problem with the stage shield. Do Hyuk turns to the audience and says he will now state his conditions. He tells them he will not join any guild. Instead of being a guild member, he will be a mercenary for hire, working with the guild as a strategic ally. Inhan Khan of the White Lotus Guild tells him, unless he is joining a guild, they have no desire to invest so much money in him. Do Hyuk tells him he can then leave. Inhan Khan gets up and shouts, "What a show-off, acting all hard to get for that one talent," as he leaves with Sun Yul Min. Others in the audience share the same opinion as the White Lotus Guild Master. They acknowledge Do Hyuk's spells are quite good, but they can't justify spending 100 billion won on him. They also think training a mercenary isn't going to help their guild prosper. After some time, everyone had left except for 2 people. Do Hyuk looks at them and says it's just the 2 of them now. The parties that stayed are Lizzie of the Plum Blossom Guild and Dewey of the Blue Star Guild. Lizzie asks Do Hyuk why they should invest 100 billion won in a guy who is not joining their guild as a member. He explains to them he will still be bound by contract to partner with their guild, and he will still carry out the agreed tasks once he receives the money. He then shows them one of his mini drones, and says he also plans to sell manufactured goods. Their jaws drop when they learn Do Hyuk can manufacture products too. Lizzie says she can't believe it, that his abilities are not limited to the spells. She asks him if he is a dual awakened. Do Hyuk hushes them, and tells them to keep it a secret between them. Lizzie jumps out of her seat and shouts, "Deal, 100 billion won," and they accept his conditions. She also says to make it a 5-year contract, and says they need him at the Plum Blossom Guild. Dewey Beck speaks up, and says 150 billion won. They will match 50% of whatever the Plum Blossom Guild offers him. Do Hyuk becomes an overnight sensation when news about an F-rank rookie signing a 3-year deal with the Blue Star Guild for 150 billion won spreads like wildfire. In addition, Do Hyuk has broken the previous contract record amount by 30 times. Do Hyuk is walking outside, thinking that it's been only 1 day and the news about him is spreading fast. He is looking at his phone, thinking about how his parents just learned about his involvement with a guild. He didn't tell them about his plans, in case they disapprove. He finds out that they are at least not against it. They send him text messages, telling him to be careful and to prioritize his own safety, and that they better not hear any bad news about him. He begins thinking about the new artifacts that he acquired during his time off. A rare grade bracelet that increases wisdom by 35, increases magic by 20, and increases charm by 5. In addition, it increases magic defense by 10 if the wearer bows 108 times at a temple. He found a pair of running shoes, also a rare rank artifact, and a magic rank wedding ring. The shoes increase agility significantly when the wearer is actively moving. The ring increases magic by 25, and it will fully recover the wearer's magic if it falls below 1. He opens his status window and sees his wisdom and magic stats are over 300. He thinks his stats are now comparable to those of a C-rank awakened, and thinks he should now focus on acquiring new spells instead of artifacts. Sometime later in the day, Do Hyuk arrives at the Blue Star Guild Tower. He stands in the building lobby and hears people whispering about him. A person wants to know what the guild master was thinking, bringing a rookie like that to the guild. Do Hyuk picks up on everyone's mood, and he had already expected people to feel discontent about him. However, he can understand where they are coming from, because he just looks like any other F-rank rookie and they haven't seen his skills, like he showed on his debut at the Gangnam Daeus Market. He approaches the front desk and tells the employee that he is here to see the guild master. The employee listens and asks him to please wait. Meanwhile, a man recognizes Do Hyuk and approaches him from behind, asking, "Who do we have here?" Do Hyuk glances over his shoulder to look at him. The man says, "It's the big shot rookie with a fresh contract." 2 people nearby watch, as they are curious to see how Do Hyuk will perform. That man's name is Minchel, and he apparently has a habit of picking on rookies to participate in his rite of passage. Do Hyuk glances at the 2 individuals watching them when he hears them mention rite of passage. Minchel extends his hand and introduces himself. Do Hyuk returns the greeting and shakes his hand. Minchel grins as he holds onto Do Hyuk's hand and begins to squeeze very tightly. Do Hyuk flinches and realizes that the rite of passage is an aggressive handshake. He thinks it is cliché, and refuses to let him walk all over him, so he secretly reinforces his body with the armor spell. Minchul is confused, thinking that Do Hyuk should be reacting to the pain by now. He is curious about what he is. Do Hyuk begins to antagonize him. He asks if this is all he's got, and begs him to show him more. Minchul becomes aggravated, he tightens his grip and begins to go full throttle, generating so much force that causes the building to shake. People nearby are beginning to worry and think that Minchul is overdoing it. They look at Do Hyuk and are surprised to see him look completely fine. Minchul continues to exert all his strength into his grip. Do Hyuk is amused and asks him if that is all, emphasizing that he is asking again. He provokes him further and tells him this rite of passage isn't very interesting. Feeling challenged and offended, Minchul begins to double down and his expression becomes menacing. He tells him he hopes he doesn't regret this. The handshake has now become a raging battle of endurance between strength and resistance. The building shakes violently and the floor begins to crack as the two men continue to battle it out. Moments later, something suddenly strikes Minchul. He becomes incapacitated and falls to the ground. Dewey Beck has arrived, and she is irritated and wants to know what is going on. She sighs deeply and tells the instructor that she thinks Minchul needs another discipline training. The man behind her apologizes to her and says it is his fault. He tells her he will make sure Minchul learns his lesson this time. Do Hyuk looks at the instructor and wonders if they are like the military and if they train each awakened individually. Dewey Beck tells him that she heard he was looking for her and says to let's go upstairs. She is feeling relieved because they had arrived at a perfect time to defuse the situation. Do Hyuk looks at her, wondering if his encounter with Minchul was a setup for him to show his powers to the rest of the guild. He comes to his senses and realizes that he is just being paranoid. He answers her yes and thanks her, and they begin walking. Do Hyuk and Dewey are inside the Blue Star Guild Master Room. Do Hyuk questions about the room, as Dewey puts away her weapon. She tells him, yes, it is the Blue Star President's office and the Guild Master's room. He asks her if she doesn't mind sharing the room with the group president. Dewey asks why not, and says this place is like home to her. She then tells him that she is surprised to see him already because most people are busy spending money after signing their first contract. Do Hyuk tells her that he is not in a rush to spend money. He is here to see her because he is looking for a particular dungeon that will help him enhance his skill. Dewey looks in a booklet and asks him about the dungeon. He tells her he is looking for a dungeon with mechanized goblins and he asks if she has seen one like it. She tells him yes, and that they have it on the list as the Mechanic Goblin Dungeon, also known as M. Goblin Siendarim, D731. She says it's an F2E ranked dungeon and the boss monster is a Goblin Chief Engineer. She tells him to take a look and throws the booklet at him. She tells him it is a list of dungeons that she had requested, and says it is a present for him. He asks, for me? She tells him, he signed a mercenary contract with them, and they are here to help him. Their guild will benefit if he becomes stronger. He begins reading about the dungeon and finds the information useful, because he is interested in the Golem blueprint. He thinks this dungeon is pretty similar to DNF and he is sure he will find the Golem blueprint in there. His train of thought is interrupted when he hears Dewey call out his name. She tells him this dungeon is managed by their guild, and that they have one requirement from him, to enter the dungeon. She extends her hand, and asks, may I accompany you?